Welcome to the Bodybuilding Banter Podcast, your number one source of all things bodybuilding. Be sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date on future episodes. Now, here's your host, Leroy Rollins.
All right, people, welcome to the Bodybuilding Banter Podcast. I'm here with my man, Connor, a fellow Canadian man himself. We gotta support our home country when we can. So shout out to Team Canada. Connor, introduce yourself to the people. Tell them what you're all about, and we'll just dive into it.
Hi guys. So my name is Connor St.Jean. A lot of people think it's pronounced St.Jean because French Canadian, but my father is actually from the States, so it kind of became an anglicized name, St.Jean. Yeah. So I'm very American Canadian, but I live in East Coast Canada in the smallest Canadian province called Prince Edward Island. It was surrounded by water, a pretty small place. Bodybuilding's not very popular here. Even in the local untested shows, sometimes no bodybuilders show up.
What? Really?
Yeah. In fact, I was just at the local show they have here, the CPA show.
Yep.
And there were 17 total competitors.
That's it?
Yeah, it was not promoted as well as it had been in the past.
Right.
It had gotten up to 60, 70 competitors before.
Right.
This year, there was only 17 that showed up.
Wow.
Yeah, I find, I don't know what it's like where you are, but where they changed the CPA rules, where you can kind of do any show you want, whereas in the past, if you lived in a certain province, you were expected to do your regional show to qualify.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So now here we can people from PEI can go to any show they want. So for someone who's grown up living in PEI, it's kind of nothing for us to move over to a different province to do something. We're always going to Halifax or going to Moncton. So pretty much people just kind of chose to do those shows, and the PEI show kind of got left in the dust. Yeah. But anyway, I digress here. There was one bodybuilder at that show, and that was it. So bodybuilding is not very popular here. There's definitely not much of a scene, although I've been connecting with some people lately, and it's here and there if you want to go search it out. Yeah,
you got to find it.
Yeah, that's right. So personally myself, I've been competing since 2012. Okay. My first show actually was a show in the neighboring province of New Brunswick because there was no PEI show at the time. So that was just a kind of untested show, and it was just to kind of test the waters out. I had a absolutely miserable experience my first prep. I'm really surprised that I've kept at it since.
Before you go get any further, I gotta know what went wrong.
Okay, well, I mean, like all people, I didn't really understand conditioning. I didn't really understand starting your prep in a good spot and giving yourself enough time to prep. Right. And it's kind of funny. I laugh now because I see other people doing it, but I even I coach hopped my first prep. So
okay.
Yeah, I was working with, and I have no problem saying anyone's names because I had both great experiences with them. It was kind of all on me for kind of switching halfway. But I was working with. He was really popular at the time. He doesn't do as much social media anymore, but Derek Charlebois was my first coach. Okay. And, I started at, I think it was a body weight of 213, really kind of chunky. I'm 5'11". Okay. And this is my first prep. So I was, pretty chunky, and I had been bulking, I think, for about 4 years when I started. So I started with Derek, and we were actually losing at the perfect pace. We were losing 1.5 to 2 pounds a week, and it was steady, it was good, it was sane, it was all right. Yep. But then I ended up kind of being panic mode because I felt like he wasn't dieting me very aggressively. Right. And and then so I ended up switching coaches, and I really feel bad for it.
Did you stall, and that's what freaked you out, or you just were all of a sudden just I'm not doing it?
I didn't stall, at least not that I can remember. It's just I felt like I was starting to clue in on how fat I actually was. And this is
fair enough.
I'm 13 weeks out.
How long was your prep total? How much time did you have?
I think it was about 18, 19 weeks.
Okay.
something like that. Maybe as many as 20. It definitely not much over 20 if it was.
Yep.
Because I'm really having to think back because this is about 7 years ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How old are you?
Yeah. I'm 29.
Okay.
29. Yeah. So, anyways, basically, I ended up kind of freaking out, and I mean, there wasn't really many online coaches back then.
Yeah.
There was a few, the industry was kind of getting started. And so there was another coach that I followed he got out of social media for a while, but I recently noticed he's been back into it. His name is Shelby Starnes.
Yes. Yes.
So he ended up taking over my prep, and we started to diet pretty aggressively. Then I kind of got the ball rolling. I was losing like 3 pounds a week. It was going crazy. But I started to really feel the prep at the end because he was pushing really hard, especially with cardio, and I ended up just getting all these terrible symptoms that
Really?
Yeah, I still kind of get them when I prep now, but they're much lighter in comparison, and I know how to control them a lot better. So the biggest thing that was the issue, I mean, everyone knows if you're gonna get lean for a show, it's gonna hurt, it's gonna feel bad, you're not gonna live your best life.
Yeah.
But pretty much coming on three weeks out of the show where we're pushing our hardest, I was getting very bad pedal edema in my calves and just all up my leg.
What's that? I don't know what that is.
If viewers don't know what pedal edema is, it's basically water retention around your ankles that is like palpable enough. If you were to press your finger in your ankles, it would leave an indent for a few seconds.
Oh, wow.
And there's different levels of how bad it can be. So like this is like a +3 pitting edema. Like it was really bad. Like I had like pregnant lady cankles.
Wow. Now
yeah.
What's that from?
Well, my best estimate is just the harshness of the prep and overall stress response via cortisol.
Yeah.
That's my best guess because when I get it now during prep, I will like take a day off.
Yeah.
I will not do any cardio.
Yeah.
I will maybe eat more carbohydrates or whatever and just chill and try and de-stress. And then I found it will go back down.
Yep.
But I really find that like excessive cardio will just really destroy the look of my legs. Like for whatever reason, like they get this look where they almost look like pumped. Like, you know, if you train your legs,
they're smooth.
They just kind of look goofy.
Yeah.
And mine will get that. Mine will like be like in a state like that for weeks if I'm doing lots of cardio. So I really have to be cognizant of that.
Really?
But this was like the craziest experience because I kept prepping through it.
Yeah.
I mean, the diet was really damn hard, man. It was like at its worst, I was doing like one day, like every day was like 0 carb, but like one day was like no fats either. It was like
oh my god,
one day and then take fats out, and they weren't even that many fats. So I was pretty much on like high protein only.
Yeah.
And I was just literally dying. Like I was like, I can't believe people do this. This is insane. I remember coming into like a back workout, and I had to do I was going to do like 16 sets, but I like literally couldn't get past 9. Like I had to leave the gym. Like
it's crazy, eh?
Beyond anything I felt since then. And when I got up, even the end, the peak week, Shelby had his own way to manipulate water, which is another kind of like controversial thing with naturals. But you know, he had his way of doing it then.
Yeah.
And I was kind of in this state where, you know, I felt like I was just retaining so much fluid via the cortisol. And so like the Monday of the peak week, it was like hammer like 3 gallons of water or something.
Yeah.
And I literally did it, and I literally gained like 5 pounds, and I was like just like retaining water like even up into my upper body. It got worse. Yeah. And when I got to the show, it was an untested show, right? And people thought I had, you know, messed up and taken like some sort of like diuretic or like messed up.
Your insulin went south or something.
Yeah. And it was such a miserable experience to put in all that work, feel awful, and just like get a bad result. But for whatever reason, the effect it had on mentally is I need to keep pushing harder to like do this the right way. So I went into an off season then, and after that miserable experience, I still actually stayed with Shelby for my next prep, and I didn't have those issues as much because I kind of stayed leaner. Even it was like a short off season; it was like only 10 months.
Yeah,
I kind of like got my calories up, and I only got up to I think a body weight of like 193 pounds, which is
okay. So you kept like 20 off.
Yeah, it seems crazy to me now because 193 is where I'm at now, where I'm prepping. Since I gained a decent amount of size since then.
Yeah.
But I didn't get big. That I didn't push my off season that year because all I wanted to do was come in shape better.
Yep.
Then I ended up doing a 16-week prep with Shelby that year for a natural federation that came around. They don't come here anymore. I know they're probably pretty present where you are in Ontario, but it's called the IDFA.
Yep.
So they did a show here, and it was kind of like the same story. It didn't last year because they didn't get the numbers out. So
yeah.
This year I did it with a pretty good open bodybuilding class. There was like 5 people, and I was in pretty good condition. Like I was the smallest guy on stage. I was down to like I think the lowest body weight I was on the prep was like 171, but I had like, not like fully striated glutes, but I had like separation of my glutes, and like no one else really had that. So
you stood out.
I stood out via that fact because everyone was, more bigger. They had more of the look where they had the more fullness, but I kind of was like way beyond the conditioning compared to them.
Sick.
So I ended up coming second at that show, which was like a huge thing for me because it kind of just like made me want to just continue with natural bodybuilding because I kind of got that validation at that point.
Yep.
And like a few guys who I had beat had been doing it like a lot longer.
Nice.
And yeah, so I was just like, whoa! So I actually have somewhat of a skill level to do this.
Yep.
Right. So from there, I ended up just being busy with school and work and stuff.
Life
for sure. And I ended up taking, and it was a big off season too. I ended up taking like a pretty long off season, and then didn't compete again until 2016.
Oh, so you had a good chunk of time.
I had a good chunk of time, and I had a kind of a weird off season where this was like right in the peak too of, like when I finished like the show I did in 2013 was around the fall, and this is like in the peak of like reverse dieting getting popular and IIFYM getting very popular.
Sure.
So there was guys like Ray Norton at the time being very vocal about like reverse dieting and stuff.
Yeah.
And it kind of like for a minute is kind of like a trend to like stay as lean as you possibly could and just reverse diet your whole off season.
Yeah, I'm not about that at all. I'm like, I want to feel normal as fast as I can, even if it means gaining like that body fat quicker. I like once prep's done, I'm out.
And it was funny, but I mean, this is kind of a new thing coming out. It was like a new idea to try and reverse diet. It's like people thought you could just really elevate your metabolism, and you could like they had like an idea that you could be eating like 600 grams carbs, but only be like 5 pounds off stage weight. Like that was like if like you could do that, you'd be so cool or whatever.
Totally.
But I really took it to heart, and I really did it really slowly, and it was crazy. Like, I competed in September, and then by the end of the year, I was like 5 pounds over my lowest prep weight, and then I was still really lean, but I was just like flat, and like I wasn't strong in the gym, but I was still just like militant. I was like, you can't get over 20 pounds stage weight, and I kept holding on to that and just not wanting to gain body fat, and all of a sudden like a year had passed, and I literally made zero progress, like absolutely none. Yeah, and it was hard for me to accept that what I thought was the way to do things wasn't working. Yeah. And so I really went back to the drawing board, and I just got like really big again. And
I'm just gonna get huge.
Get huge, yeah. You know what? It was crazy because I ended up doing the mini cut even after I did like. I get crazy with this stuff. Like I ended up doing the mini cut, which turned into like more of a prep. Yeah. And I didn't compete, and I was down to like the body weight of 178, and I was just like so upset after that diet when I dieted down that I had spent like a year or two in off season and like not done anything productive. Like it really like hurt me mentally just to see all that time and effort put in and not getting the progress I want. Yeah. So I literally stopped weighing myself and started to just eat more and more like every week. Sure. And this, like, I think the timeline was in, like, it was Canada Day. I weighed 178. And then I went into the next year, into February. And then by the time that had rolled around, I was 217.
Whew. So talk to me a little bit about, like, your off-season approach. Like, at that point, even now, maybe you can talk about your most recent off-season. But, like, do you track, or are you eating set macros? Or you just like, I'll eat everything and just watch the scale and watch performance in the gym? What's your kind of process there?
one of my things I like to do is to really forget about my weigh-ins when I'm on off season.
Yep.
And I wouldn't suggest people necessarily take this approach, but for me, I find it's mentally very helpful because I don't like wake up, be 40 pounds over stage weight and be like, oh my God, I am going to have to diet 40 pounds off. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Because I find if I can really just talk myself out of like the big eating in the off season.
Yeah.
And like I could just really, because I could just, like, you know how it is. Like you have to really invest into it to see the results because the tissue comes on so slow at a certain point that it just, it almost like if you like break it down cost to benefit of like, day-to-day life and how you're looking at yourself in the mirror and stuff, like you won't get the benefit of the long off season until you finally diet down again.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
If you're like looking at yourself every day, posing and taking your weigh-ins and it's going up, like I feel like you could just talk yourself out of doing a solid off season. And so like what I like to do is I'll just eat kind of intuitively and I'll be tracking, but not too crazily. So even this off season, I had another like big off season. And I used the same kind of strategy. I didn't weigh myself at all. I just kind of ate more and more as I progressed through it, and I ended up at the end. My average intake was about 4,800 calories a day, and I didn't take my weight at my highest point. I took my weight a few days into the diet.
Yeah.
But I had to been up to about 225 because I was 224 when I weighed in after like a few days on the diet in early January this year.
Wow.
So I pushed up even again, and like I don't know, maybe I went a little bit too far, but I'm kind of the type who's like I really want to do bodybuilding to its fullest extent. So I really want an off season. If I don't gain some muscle tissue, like it's been a waste of an off season. You know what I mean? Like.
Do you eat like quote unquote clean in your off season, or is it kind of like a happy medium, maybe 70% good foods, 30% the rest? How do you do it?
I would say it's a happy medium. I will definitely have my just like basic bodybuilding meals, my steak and rice.
Yeah. Chicken.
Steak and rice, chicken for sure. Like oats, stuff like that. Those will all be there. I made a lot of trips to Subway this year. Get my food in.
Yeah.
I'll eat some unconventional foods that I think are beneficial. Like I'll do things like even just orange juice and V8 juice, to get micronutrients and to get potassium. One of my big things is like to track potassium. If I can, I'd like to get at least 4 or 5 grams of potassium a day. So that focuses, that right there will give you a bunch of like micronutrient sources. When I think of potassium, I think of like vegetables, fruits, things like that. You got to watch your fiber intake doesn't get too crazy high, or your sugar intake doesn't get sky high if you kind of chase potassium intake. But I like to get my fair share, and I'm when I'm doing my diets now, I'm always kind of looking at that, making sure I hit my micronutrients, making sure I hit my fiber, sodium, potassium are both at decent levels.
Yep.
But yeah, in the off season, like I don't really like go for the fattier foods, but I go pretty high carb. So like when I was on that 4,800 calories, I was probably getting about 700 grams carbs at my peak, I'd say. Fats are like 100, 120. So like, they're up there, but they're not crazy high. And I try and avoid like fried foods, I guess, like burger and fries. I don't really do so much. Obviously if you wanted to eat 4,800 calories, you can fit that in, no problem. But
yeah, totally.
I kind of like to focus on carbs more so, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like, everybody's like, I find not everybody, but like in our circle of bodybuilding, it's like new people coming in. It's like protein. They're like, how do I get as much protein as I can? I'm like, okay, like, it seems to be that carbs can be a little bit more beneficial, right? Like once you have your protein set, that gram per pound, like start eating carbs, man. Start like I know if I have a good heavy carb day, like my workouts are 10 times better.
Oh yeah. One big thing too that changed that I realized too is like the way Shelby dieted me was kind of more of it wasn't keto by any means. So if any listeners don't confuse it, it wasn't keto, but it was more of a lower carb diet using more fats.
Yep.
And I did okay on that. I got in good shape. I found it was the hardest part of his preps was to train hard during the prep, right? And then when I competed again in 2016, and this was the last prep coach I had, who's now retired, and it's kind of a shame because he was a really good coach. He never really got into the limelight too much because he didn't focus on social media. But his name was Brian Ahlstrom, and he has several other top natural pros who we would have trained. Like Sam Okinola was one of his athletes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and same. This guy isn't as popular, but he's a great bodybuilder. Carl Seivert, huge guy. IP. I don't think he's won the world championship, but he's been pretty close a few times.
Yep.
So he was a great coach, and what he did with me was definitely your classic low fat, higher carb approach, which seemed to work really damn well.
Right.
Was I a little bit hungrier on it? Maybe. Were my workouts better? For sure. And was my energy towards the end of prep better? Definitely. And I mean, some of that too was some of his strategies where, like, he was really big on, you could call it carb cycling, but what he did was like a lot of times he'd do like a 3-to-1 rotation where he'd do 3 low days and then do a high day, 3 low days, high day.
Right.
And like that like really worked well for me. And like every third day every fourth day I was getting like 500 grams of carbs. So my workouts were staying good. Which with the previous coaches like Shelby, he was more of a cheat meal guy, which I don't really like to do. But he'd just be like, if your weight dropped like 3 pounds, he'd be like, okay, go have a cheat meal.
Sure.
And that for me, like it was all right. I prefer having the higher carb days though. I find the carbs are more utilized for hard training, and I don't really need cheat meals. I find as long as I can eat the carb sources I feel work well and are tasty on the high carb days, that's enough for me to be okay with the whole prep process. So pretty much that's what I found to be a more optimal approach is like lower fats, higher carbohydrates, refeeds, on some sort of scheduled basis, which everyone does now. But you know what? Back when I started in 2012, not everyone was doing that. Not everyone was doing high carb days. It was, cheat meals, and it was your strict diet. These are the 5 foods you eat type.
Yeah. You had your little grocery list, and that was kind of the extent of it for 4 or 5 months, eh?
Yeah, definitely.
So what are your thoughts kind of broadly on like the whole if it fits your macros versus like a clean, typical old school approach? Like, do you think there's merit to both, or do you lean more towards one than the other?
I think what people should do is they should definitely learn to track. They should try both ways, see if making a meal plan for themselves works well.
Yeah.
And if it does, that's great. The only thing you need to look at for the old school way of dieting is sometimes the way people think of nutrition is kind of strange in the old school because it was very low focus on micronutrients and very high focus on like, these are the foods that are quote unquote clean that can work.
Yeah.
And, if you were to eat a diet of chicken and rice, you'd be very devoid of micronutrients, fiber. That would not be a good diet. An IFYM diet that focused on micronutrients would be a better diet, in my opinion.
Yeah, health wasn't a priority back then, right? It was more so just whatever gets me to the stage, whatever. Like you said, it could have been chicken and rice 5 meals a day, and you know what? It could probably get you to the stage and you'd be in shape, but your body would just be not in a good spot.
Right. So, I mean, at some point we need to admit to ourselves that bodybuilding inherently, doing it to its highest level is a bit of an unhealthy endeavor.
Yep.
But, I mean, why would we not take our diet into consideration and try and making it as healthy as we possibly can to keep our bodies fresh? And, if you do that, I guarantee it'll pay dividends in your training. Like, you'll feel better. For me too, like I'm not particular with taste, so like I'll eat vegetables all day long on prep and just count those as my carbs and get as many micros as I can. If you're really pushing your body hard, you're going to need, I think, those micronutrients to perform your best and feel your best. So I mean, I guess what you could say is my approach is kind of taking the best of both worlds into consideration. I think it's really important that people learn about foods and micronutrients and sodium, potassium, like just check that out. So like when you choose the foods you want to eat, if you're doing your own diet, you make smart decisions for yourself. I mean,
education's key, right? Like no matter whether you're bodybuilding or you're powerlifting or you're general fitness and health, like knowing what's in your food and what that does to and for your body. Like we can all benefit from that regardless of what we're doing.
Yeah, and I mean IFYM is great if you really need those, like, if you need to be able to eat delicious food on prep to stay on your diet.
Yeah,
it is dangerous in the way that you could just have a whole day of eating with like micronutrient devoid food.
Yep.
Although I'm going to be honest, I haven't seen many people fall to that. I feel like it's more of a precautionary type thing people say. In practice, the people who do it well, I think they do focus on vegetables and fiber and all the important things like that. But it is something you have to watch. I mean, if you're eating Quest bars 4 times a day and doing
Halo Top ice cream at the end of the night to finish your carbs off every day.
Yeah, if you're doing that all the time, I think you should perhaps maybe reevaluate some of the reasons you're doing this, or just reevaluate some of your food choices and see if you can find something that has a similar kind of taste and texture, but is more micronutrient rich, or just is a better overall healthier choice.
Sure.
And I mean, really, a lot of times with taste, you can, the way foods are, you can get whatever taste you want out of like healthy food if you really want to put the time into making it. So
yep.
I'd say consider all that when you're trying to figure out what is the best diet approach for you.
I think, like us as bodybuilders too, like we inherently fall into these habits of like, breakfast is probably egg whites, oatmeal, like those are they're just like habits you fall into. Like every day at some point I have chicken and rice. Maybe it's meal 2, maybe it's meal 4. It's just what I do, right? Every day I have a piece of fruit at lunch. It's a banana or it's an apple. Habits, right? And I think that's where like you said earlier, that happy medium of like, it's structured to an extent, but I have this, inherent flexibility that, it's kind of mindless to an extent, right? But I'm still aware of it,
For sure. I remember I was freaked out at first because, I had been on we'll just say it for lack of a better term, the bro diet.
Yeah.
And I learned about one of my friends who was doing flexible dieting. He was like a natural bodybuilder like me at the time. And I was like, he was telling me about this flexible dieting stuff and it was blowing my mind. I was like, so what do you eat? He's like, it's just random every day. It's different. And I was like, what? I was like, I couldn't do that. And I still couldn't. I need to have I need to have my pre-workout oats, my oatmeal, my whey protein, peanut butter, some oats. That's been my pre-workout meal for probably since 2013, I'd say. I haven't changed that.
Yeah.
My breakfast has been pretty steady lately. It's been half cup egg whites, 2 whole eggs.
Egg whites. I knew it. That's what I said.
Yeah. 4 pieces of turkey bacon, spinach, some mushrooms. Now this is where it gets different. I have a kiwi and
dude, I have kiwis in the fridge right now. It's so funny you say that.
Yeah, and a cup of V8 juice. V8 juice, everyone, is underrated. Check it out. The smooth and seasoned flavor is awesome. It's got a ton of micronutrients. It's got sodium. It's got potassium.
Look at this guy, the latest V8 sponsored athlete right here.
That's right. We're juicing on this natty podcast.
That's right. Okay, I think we've talked about food quite a bit. Talk to me about your training. But let's just talk about what you're currently doing. Kind of what your last 6-7 months has looked like.
So what I'm doing now, it's a split I've done before, and it's kind of a whole system of training that is very unique in the sense that it's a little hard to explain in a sentence, but if I'm sure people have heard it been thrown around before. It's a training system made by Dr. Scott Stevenson called Fortitude Training. So what that is, it depends. He has lots of different options to run it, and if you read his book. But what it is, it's a high frequency program. It's a little bit lower on the volume, and I'd say the intensity is very high because most sets are taken very close or to failure.
Okay. Who's the author of this again? What's his name?
Dr. Scott Stevenson.
Scott Stevenson. Okay, continue.
Yeah. Anyone who wants to check him out, he has a ton of podcasts out. He does a bi-weekly podcast on Advice's Radio called Muscle Minds. That's been a big influence for me.
Right.
If he wants to check out his philosophies in detail. He also came out with a book called Be Your Own Bodybuilding Coach that I've been reading too. Really good. But anyways, the program Fortitude Training, it's high frequency. So, for example, I trained yesterday, and basically what you do is he has different options the way to run it, but there's 2 days a week for the most part that are full body. So, yeah, yesterday was a heavy upper body day. And when I say heavy, I mean training within the 6 to 12 rep range.
Yep.
That's what we're considering heavy. And then my lower body was trained in the light rep range, which is, in his book, it's between 15 to 30 reps, but sometimes I go even as high as like 40 on some things.
Now, are those high reps, are they still taken like to failure, or is it just kind of like pump work?
Well, he calls it pump. So you can interpret that lots of ways. I take my sets pretty close to failure, and a lot of times what's ending the set is pain tolerance.
Okay,
so
it just burns.
That's right. So the other day, and he kind of has some interesting ways he splits up the muscle groups. So he'll call like I was doing a dumbbell sumo squat where I kind of stood on some platforms yesterday to get a deeper range of motion.
Yeah.
And he called that like thighs. So like that would be like a thigh movement, and for example, that would be different from like a quad movement where that would be like a sissy squat or a lag extension, right?
Right.
Like a movement focusing more on pure knee extension.
Yeah.
So like yesterday, I did dumbbell sumo squats, and I took the biggest dumbbell in my gym, which is 150 pounds. And I mean, obviously, I'm just holding with my hands, and like 150 pounds isn't crazy for squats, but I did like 39 total reps. I just kind of pumped them out, and it was really brutal. Like, and I didn't really like hit a failure point like you'd say, but it just came to a point I couldn't hold the dumbbell anymore. It was getting so painful. I was so out of breath. I just kind of like dropped the dumbbell at 39 reps. I did not have 40 reps. I wanted to get 40, but
couldn't do it.
39 was where the set ended, and I was messed up after that. But that's a big contrast to like the heavy work that's in the 6 to 12 range that I did before that for upper body.
Right.
Which definitely that's on a lot of those sets you're hitting failure, and you can definitely tell when failure is in that rep range, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So that's one day, and then you take a day off, and then tomorrow I'll be doing the opposite of that, where I'm doing my heavy lower body work, which is the 6 to 12 rep range, and then pump work for the upper body, which is kind of the same thing. And the way he writes the program, it's very open-ended in the fact that it's not like, here are the exercises you're doing. You can pick your own exercise selection.
Right.
You can pick your technique. So like a technique you could do that people know about that's commonly done is like 21s on bicep curls, right?
Sure.
That would be like a classic pump style set that, you could do. But you can do other techniques. Just do like parcels in any part of the range of motion you want. It's kind of fun in the way that you have endless opportunities to just like do whatever movement you want with whatever technique. And that's kind of like the fun of the system is like some of it's like regulated. Like he stresses that you pick the rotation, like the heavy movements, you pick those and they'll all logbook them.
Yep.
The pump stuff is more done in like a scrapbook fashion where you like just like write down what you do, but maybe the next week you do something completely different and just like write
whatever
down
you're feeling. Sweet.
And then so the rest of the program, it's only 4 days a week, so I've only been training 4 days a week lately. The rest of the program, you do these sets that are called muscle rounds.
Okay.
And what a muscle round is, it's a discontinuous style set. So the way he explains it in the book is that you take roughly your 15 rep max on an exercise, and it has to be something that you can rack and unrack easily, because what you do with your 15 rep max is you do 6 sets of 4, and each set of 4 has 5 breaths in between, or 10 seconds in between each mini set.
Right.
And the idea is you're supposed to hit failure around the 6th round, like complete failure. So it becomes like a very intense type of set.
Yeah.
And you only do like one of those sets for a movement. So like, for example, like you just do like a chest press machine, and machines kind of work well with this type of movement. Like I said, you have to get in and out of positions easily. Like something like a barbell bench press would kind of be hard to do unless you had like a really good spotter.
Yep.
But anyway, so you do 6 sets of 4, and hopefully by that fourth rep of the 6th set, you're literally just like getting
grinding
muscular failure.
Yeah.
So it's kind of similar to things like Maya reps or like a dog crap style rest pause set. It's its own type of intensity technique, and that's what he'll do. Like he'll do like an upper day and a lower day with muscle rounds. So And what he says, the muscle rounds, pick the movements that you feel like you didn't get through the week. So they're kind of ones that you just would choose kind of as the day happens. And like you think back, for my chest, I did an incline barbell press, and I did some flat flies. So maybe I'll hit like more of a decline angle for a muscle round or whatever.
Yep.
Or maybe I'll start with a fly movement because I didn't do that as hard, earlier in the week or whatever. So
Sure.
they're kind of like auto-regulatory in that fashion.
Sweet. I like it. So how long have you been doing this now?
I did it in my off-season for a stint for about maybe 6 months. Then I came back to it when I started to prep just because I wanted to try this year to do less days in the gym.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see how that affected me. I've always been the type who's wanted to do more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
And
Aren't we all?
That's right. Well, it's very easy to get, quote unquote, like addicted to the destruction, especially when you're on prep.
Yeah.
You don't want to let people outwork you. But, I've just been doing this for a while, and I just know that I just need the volume I need to maintain the muscle that I have.
Yeah.
And I need to come to the gym. I need to train really damn hard when I'm there. So having the 3 rest days makes that really easy.
Yep.
I get so excited for my workouts just because, when you have these days off, you kind of get a little bit antsy, like, I want to train. But then you come in with this energy that you wouldn't have if you were training like 6 days a week. You know what I mean? At least I find for myself that's how it happens.
Yeah, absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? It's like a relationship. Right. You gotta miss the gym.
You gotta miss the gym a little bit, and then I'll get super pumped for my workout. And yeah, so far it's been really good. I've maintained my strength really well. I'm sure some of that is just the muscle I have is being more solidified as I train more years, but I've been really liking it, and I feel some of these issues too, with like the cortisol and the water retention.
Yep.
I think a lot of that will be mitigated this year by the fact that I have more recovery days. Another thing I'm doing too is I haven't done any formal cardio yet. I've been just doing steps.
Sweet.
And so far that's been working out pretty well. I don't know.
Okay. We're going to quickly wrap this up. My computer is being super annoying. It keeps running out of space. We're going to let Connor wrap up where he finished off, and then we're going to talk about his goals for the near future. So wherever you've picked up there, man, go ahead.
So I was just kind of saying this year I've been running kind of just on steps rather than cardio, and I think that's going to really improve my recovery this year. It's gonna clean up a lot of the issues I've had with like the water retention in the ankles, which is just like unsightly when it gets to be really bad. So I think that's going to be good. If I need to add cardio in, I'm just going to add it in at a small amount and keep my steps up. I'm kind of for steps. I've been between 10K to 13K. Yeah. I haven't been as formal this year because I'm doing my own diet this year, which is the first time I've been doing that. So. Right. I'm kind of just seeing what's going on. Since I'm so kind of far out at this point, I feel like I'm just going to go with the flow and see kind of what happens. So
nice.
Yeah.
All right, man. Let's wrap this up before my computer decides to just explode on us. So your goals, obviously you've got some stuff coming up in the near future. Talk to me quickly about that, and long term in bodybuilding. What are you hoping to achieve?
Right. So. I started this prep in January, and I didn't really have a show picked out, but I kind of just, the last few weeks, I've been looking at Natural Mania in New York, which is a WNBF Pro qualifier.
Nice.
I actually did a WNBF Pro qualifier in 2016, and you know what? This sounds typical bodybuilder, but my peak week for that went kind of sour. I kind of ended up spilling over, and it was really upsetting because I was in such good condition.
Yeah.
That year. But anyways, I came third in my class then. I'm hoping to basically my real goal is to just come into the show my best and be improved from 2016. So the big thing is just coming in as conditioned as I can, and I'll let the cards fall as they may.
When's your show?
September 29th, which puts us at 20 weeks and 4 days out, I think, if I have that math correct. It was 21 weeks on Saturday, so
okay.
It's not too far. I got some time, but it's 20 weeks in bodybuilding time goes like that, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I gotta buckle down and get in shape for that. And I've always had a goal of being a WNBF pro. I'm not gonna come out and say that's the whole point of my prep because I just think that could just lead to so many bad things if I, don't get it. And,
Yeah.
New York, who knows who's going to show up? Probably some pretty crazy stacked dudes showing up, probably vying for it for a while. So my goal is just to come in my best. I would love to have a WMBF Pro card someday.
Yep.
But we'll just see where the chips fall this year. And as long as I'm improved, I'm pretty happy with that. And I know, too, if I come in really sharp conditioning, I'm hard to deal with in that sense because I can get pretty sharp.
Yeah, man, you can get peeled.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's the goal, is just to bring the craziest condition and just have a little bit more size than the last time. And then I don't know what I'm going to do after that. Probably some local shows around here. If I have the money and the time, I might try another WMF Pro qualifier, or another. If God willing, I win my pro card, I might jump in the pro show. I mean, that's kind of, to me, that sounds like I'm getting ahead of myself there. But
hey,
I'm gonna
dream big.
You never know, right? You never know who's going to show up. It's always who shows up that day, right?
Yep.
So I'm going to just see what my finances are like then, and hopefully do at least a show here. I might actually try Classic Physique in the CPA.
Nice.
Just to see where I stand. There's a show not too far from here that's untested, but, I've done untested shows before. I've had a lot of fun. I've had good experiences, so I'm going to, give that a shot too, I think, because it's just right next door. So
nice.
Yeah, and then after that, I have no idea what my goal is. I might be going back to school, so competitive bodybuilding might be put on the back burner after that point. But basically, I just want to bring some crazy conditioning this year, and feel like I brought my best package to state. So
nice.
After that, we'll evaluate.
I love it, man. I love it. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on to the podcast, dealing with the technical difficulties, but we got through it. Quickly plug your Instagram and stuff. Where can people find you?
Yeah, sure. So my Instagram is just my first and last name, Connor.St.Jean. Check me out. I'm trying to put up more this year. If you're interested in coaching, hit me up. Look for the podcast I'm going to be doing coming up soon. It's going to be called Natty Muscle Radio. Hopefully it's going to be its own URL, so nattymuscleradio.com, with Brenton McNeil and Shao from New York as well. So check that out, guys, and thanks for listening, and hope you all have a great rest of your week. Awesome.
All right, people, well, there you have it. Go give this man a follow. As he said, he is just over 20 weeks out, September 29th. So follow this man. Go check out his older photos, because he's not kidding when he says he gets lean. The man's got some shreds, that's for sure. Dude, I appreciate it again. Thank you for coming on, and we'll do this again soon.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Have a good night, buddy.
You too.